That's right. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And boy oh boy, today is a day that is going to live on in Disney Parks history, because today is the first day that we got footage and that people got to ride and experience Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. It was the press day today. It's opening to the general public tomorrow. Oh God, Dragon, I have been studying this project like a hawk. I've been very zeroed in on this thing from back when it was Untitled Star Wars Battle Escape e-ticket back in those days. So this is a big deal. This is definitely a big deal. This is one of the biggest, most high-scale e-tickets that Disney's ever done. It's certainly one of the biggest, most high-scale things they've done in the last 20 years. I would say, as far as just Disneyland Park, not even getting to Florida, which is where this is, of course, opening first, but just in Disneyland Park, this is easily, hands down, the biggest investment that this whole park has seen since Indiana Jones in 1995. So just in terms of my non-spoiler, and just I kind of wanted to save not watching this for when I went to Florida in March, but I mean, who am I kidding, Dragon? I can't resist. I mean, I needed to know, man. I needed to know. I needed to be a part of the discussion, and more importantly, I felt that you guys kind of we owed you a podcast about this. So I'm kind of taking one for the team here by, I do have a trip, a couple months away, but still it's a length. And, but still I plowed through, I watched it all, and, Dragon, this is just, I mean, to call it a game changer is like, I feel like that's even selling it short. I mean, I can't even believe some of the stuff that they're doing here. And my question is, with the pre-show, which we'll get into, the pre-show is incredibly ambitious. And honestly, that's where a lot of the game changer stuff comes into play. I mean, don't get me wrong, the ride itself looks incredible as well, for sure. And there's a ton of ambitious things going on there. But I mean, just the way that the pre-show is laid out, just kind of like that 17-minute sort of prologue to the actual ride. It's a feat. It's definitely a feat. And I'm wondering how logistically feasible it is. I mean, I don't know, man. There's definitely some things that we have to talk through in terms of like the actual crowd control and crowd flow of this attraction, because of course there's a lot of moving parts to it. I am honestly not sure if the whole 17-minute pre-show thing is going to help or hurt the crowd flow. I mean, it's certainly going to make you feel like you're a part of the experience way before you actually board your ride vehicle, unlike any attraction in theme park history has ever done before. I think we can safely say that much, if they can keep this up, if they can, keep up how immersive this experience in the pre-show is on day one. If they can run that consistently, then we're looking at a true game changer in terms of theme park storytelling. We really are. It's like the line between the queue and the ride has been blurred significantly by this attraction, folks. But my only hesitation, my only resistance, if you will, so if once we're getting in the thousands of guests per hour pumping through this thing, I honestly don't know if the pre-show is going to be a thing that's around in 5-10 years, when we really need to factor in just the logistics of moving such and such many people through per hour. But regardless of all that, I mean, I love the storytelling at play here. I feel like the attraction does a very, very good job of telling a distinctly Star Wars story that involves you, the guests, directly into the middle of the story. I think it has a classic something goes wrong narrative to it. And in some ways, the whole ride is like the ultimate something goes wrong, because, right from the start of the pre-show, it's sort of one big something goes wrong. And so I really appreciate it on a number of different levels. I can't wait to get to experience it myself. I just think, frankly, I think anyone who's complaining about it, I don't know. I don't know, like, you're just. I honestly feel bad for people who are like nitpicking this thing. Like, oh, the AT-ATs don't move. They don't move their heads. It's like, you've got so many other moving parts to this thing, dude. It's like, for God's sake. So I don't know. It's all in all, Dragon, this thing looks to be pretty incredible. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you. I look at this ride, and it's simply like you stepped into Star Wars, and it's quite dazzling. It really is. It's basically it's kind of we unfortunately, in the way things are going with Star Wars these days, they're never going to make. It seems like we're never going to make a ride that's directly set in the old movies. And okay, it's not the end of the world. I'm just saying, this is the closest feeling you're going to get to like if you were in A New Hope, essentially. That's kind of what this ride is, just something truly. It is next level. I think if you had to sum it up, it's next level, or in other words, it broke new ground. It did. It's this thing looks tremendous.
I mean, there's at least 3 different ride systems in play at this thing, and that just blows me away.
it has like an Albuquerque verse. Like basically, if you could translate this into like a ride thing, basically if you could take like a oneer, like a Better Call Saul oneer.
Totally.
And you could turn into a ride. That's what the cue for this ride is, and then it keeps going, and then it's like, oh god, now you've entered in the Star Wars. But even just getting up to that point, it's already a ride within itself. It probably would have been serviceable enough, it would have been fine. And then we keep going, and yeah.
I will say, Dragon, I was a fan of Smuggler's Run. I like Smuggler's Run way more than I thought I would. I think Smuggler's Run is a surprisingly efficient attraction at moving people through, in spite of it being a motion simulator. This makes Smuggler's Run literally look like a toy. I feel honestly bad for Smuggler's Run that it has to go up against this.
Now, in all fairness, Smuggler's Run is immersive in a different way. It's immersive in a way that's literally by your own hand. So that is something special that Smuggler's Run does have.
You're right.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And also, that one also, as you said, is kind of like a ride where something goes wrong, which basically, I think the better way of phrasing it, as we literally phrase it in this ride, I got a bad feeling about this ride.
Uh-huh.
Or, oh boy, I got a bad feeling about this. Anyway. But yeah, it looks like it's lived up to the hype of like, oh god, this Rise of Resistance ride. They're gonna have all the new guys are gonna show up in it somehow. It's gonna be a whole bunch of ride systems in there. It's gonna be this and that, and it's like, oh, that's impossible. They're never going to achieve all that, and it looks like they've achieved all of that. So good for them.
Yeah, multiple ride systems, huge sets, lots of different AAs.
Honestly, this seems like this is what Galaxy's Edge is when it's firing on all cylinders. This seems like what the dream is. Basically, this ride seems to be like the flagship, what they're aiming for with Galaxy's Edge as a whole.
I mean, it's always been the flagship of Galaxy's Edge, and a lot of people kind of argue that Galaxy's Edge maybe should have just opened when this was ready.
That's a fair. Actually, that's kind of a fair point you make there. Yeah, I probably should have waited. Yeah. And plus, I mean, think about it. If they waited till this point, then you would have had Mandalorian as well as Rise of Skywalker, like on the precipice of coming out. Would have been.
Oh God, you're right.
What I'm saying, it literally would have been like in a perfect.
And
timing.
It would have been people's like first time visiting. The Millennium Falcon ride as well, and you'd get like the first timers into Oga's Cantina before everyone realized the drink sucked there.
Yeah, it's a rise of gimmick too.
All right.
So they could have actually gotten some good Baby Yodas in there.
We could have. Yeah, you're right. We're going to go full balls to the wall spoilers for this. We're going to basically break down as much as we possibly can through the ride vehicle. Why do I want to call it vehicles? For the ride videos that we've deciphered. We're going to break down the pre-show. We're going to break down the queue. We're going to break down the actual ride experience. We're going to break down the story. So by all means, if you don't want to watch this because you want to wait to ride it yourself, I totally get that. Dragon, but first we have to address the drone-sized elephants in the room.
Okay.
So yeah, Bob Chapek, it's like Mr. No, we can't have free roaming droids in Galaxy's Edge. We can't have a full service restaurant. We can't have a people mover style ride just for kinetic energy within the land. That Bob Chapek, Dragon, it was Chapek's idea to make 2 full size X-Wing drones just for opening day of Rise of the Resistance, just for media day. So
No,
not
come
even,
on, they can't be full size. I mean, they gotta be able to tell you they're kind of smaller at a distance, I'm sure.
I mean, they're to scale. They're to scale. I mean, I don't think they're necessarily full size, but they're they're definitely impressive in the scale. But,
sure. I mean, look again. Even when you say 2 scale means it's an actual X-wing. That's what I'm saying. It's not an actual X-wing size.
okay, but regardless, man, it just went off. They just kind of like ascended and descended like boring blimps, and that was about it. And the whole thing almost kind of took the air out of the room.
When you really think about it, they only could have done so much. I mean, ideally, they could have gone at least in a straight line. I'll give you that much. They could have like gone up.
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like they could have at least like flown in and flown out or something. I don't know.
I mean, a perfect world, what they would do is they would have them like at an area from an altitude at the ready off to like a cliff or something on the side, like kind of a high structure. Then they would appear. They would move a little out, and then they descend. That's what you want. That's what's
right.
That's what's feasible. Unfortunately, it's like going up, going down, going up, going down.
Yeah. So that wasn't great. That wasn't great.
I mean, I gotta tell you, it looked kind of impressive though, just in the fact that, oh god, X-wings are kind of up in the night sky. I respect what they were trying to do, but again, they could have put a little kind of a little sparkle on it there, a little like, okay, let's have them emerge. Let's go the full Yoda, man. Let's
Dragon, in 10 years, I want full-blown X-Wing versus TIE fighter drone dogfights. I want that to be a thing.
I mean, imagine this. Of course, now they're probably going to have to do it with, well, regardless, now, timeline-wise, it still would make no sense. Whatever Yoda you want to use here, baby or otherwise, it'd be great if we're in like a little area where you can raise an X-Wing.
Oh, God. All right. Okay, so getting into the attraction itself, of course, I think this queue very much reminds me of the queue for Flight of Passage at Avatar Land, where you have this really sprawling outdoor section. There's a lot of waterfalls. There's a lot of plant life, a lot of rock work. It's basically just a big, expansive area that's meant to just look pretty, meant to pull you in, meant to really give you a sense of the scale of this location, but also because of how big it is, importantly, it's a big people eater. You can get a ton of people into this area of the queue. I don't know, Dragon. I don't have a ton of thoughts about the outdoor first part of the queue, but I do like the rock work. I like the waterfalls.
My favorite parts, I love how it's like a hidden entrance. That's my favorite part. I love how it's again, it's supposed to be a hidden base, and you have like this kind of this rock pathway that kind of leads you like this like kind of unadvertised. There's a little bit of an advertisement until it's the ride entrance, but I mean, essentially you go in there, it's like this little kind of hidden away entryway, which then kind of sells you on the whole idea. Okay, it's a hidden resistance base on Batuu. Of course, will kind of throw us into the adventure, and I love the inside structure. It looks very carved out. It looks very much like. Mm-hmm. We've made this into an outpost, as in like it's a natural location.
It is supposed to be an ancient Jedi temple, Dragon.
Well, regardless, the point being it's a structure that originally wasn't like designed for this, that we've kind
of exactly. Yeah, but I'm saying like the cool thing about this location is that it kind of puts the two big flagship heroics of Star Wars, the Jedi and the Resistance, and kind of melds them together in a way. You got kind of the ancient history of the Jedi within the temple, and you've got kind of like, the makeshift kind of rapscallion nature of the rebellion with the equipment and the fighter pilot gear and everything like that, the uniforms, all that kind of scattered around, the makeshift lockers. One of my favorite areas in the actual temple is you go through this tunnel, and there's like it looks like the rocks of the temple have kind of caved in, and so the Resistance is like kind of put up these pillars to support the caved in rocks.
Yeah.
So a lot of cool stuff there. All right. I mean, I get the feeling that all this temple stuff and the outdoor portion, like I said, it's mostly just serving, not only as a way to kind of like draw us in to the big large scale of everything and to get us into the resistance, and like I said, the idea of the resistance and the Jedi kind of sort of sharing the heroics in the story. But more importantly, it's just like a big open area that you can fit a lot of people into. And this is where we start getting into the logistics here. So as far as I'm aware, the guests go into the first pre-show room, and that's the pre-show room with BB-8. And we're going to lay all this out for you guys. We're going to lay out kind of like we're going to go into detail about this, but they go into the first pre-show room, they see the pre-show, then they go into the outdoor area where they get, where they wait to board the ship. And Dragon, there's several questions I have there. How many ships do they actually have? Are there different pods? Is there only one pod? How long are you going to have to wait out there? I've got questions. We'll go through this. And then, of course, after that ship, the actual pre-show on the ship, then we're on the Star Destroyer, and then things start to get even more unconventional from there with the way that the queue's laid out. But let's just start with the BB-8 and Rey pre-show. So, man, this is like a 1-2 punch of a really cool first real show scene, don't you think?
Yeah, I tell you, looking at the simplicity of it, though, I what I really get a kick out of, and it's going to sound so small, so sparing, but I got to tell you, it's kind of what the new trilogy's been built on. It's really, I really still like it. I love the interplay between BB-8 and Rey. I love I love the little bond that they've forged ever since they met on Jakku. I love it's kind of like it's kind of a Luke and R2 relationship, as it very kind of literally translates to be. But I just love these two been through a lot together. I just love this little bit where BB is kind of rolling around there, and basically, they greet the guests and everything, and basically kind of laying out what the job is there. But Rey kind of turns to BB-8 and says, like, "Hey, shouldn't you be a flight that get ready for the flight or something, like doing the systems check?" I love this little casual interplay between them two.
Yeah,
man, they're buddies. Isn't that cute?
Okay, but more importantly, I mean, you're right. The interplay there is great, but more importantly, Dragon, holy crap, the technology on both of these people.
That is true. And BB-8 looks
we got BB-8, who's basically just like, I'd say BB-8, I would say that BB-8 is kind of like the next evolution of like the Olaf and Rocket style animatronic, where, I mean, God, he is just like, he's just like rolling around, man. It's like, he's really, the path they have him on, I'm sure he's on some sort of a track or something. But, man, they really give him a lot of motion. He goes a lot of places through that room.
Yeah, I would hope he's on a track, because if something goes wrong to someone off to the side, there's kind of piloting, like, if it works like the toy or something, where basically you link it up and you probably control where he goes and so on and so forth.
No, I don't think it's like that.
That's the thing. Like, if that happened, if that were the case, imagine like the worst nightmare scenario if you're operating that ride, if you're involved in that pre-show section. It's like if you drive him off, because remember, he's like really high up. If he goes off, he falls and he breaks, you're gonna traumatize a lot of kids. Like, oh no, BB-8, no.
Well, yeah, no. Dragon. That's why I'm sure it's on a track.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like entertaining the possibility. If it's not, though, that's a big risk.
All right, and then more importantly, Dragon, holy effing shit! This is Disney's very first, like, I mean, they've done like Pepper's Ghost stuff, and they've done projection mapping and stuff like that. This is a hologram, motherfucker.
It's the
this
feeling
is just a full-blown hologram. Like, goddamn, Disney has pulled off the sci-fi impossible with this.
Yeah, it's not. Again, this is the feeling of Star Wars. You feel like you're, however you want to take it. Like you're Luke seeing the little hologram of Leia for the first time. But again, in this case, Daisy Ridley. Rey, man, it's freaking Rey right there before your eyes. Look at her, man. It
just blows me away, Dragon. I've seen still photos of this and just how good it looks in still photos. Like, I can't believe it. It's amazing.
Right, so essentially what Rey is telling us here, just the lowdown here is, We're on a mission to meet Leia, the rendezvous with Leia on the planet, on the new base, the new secret base, which is Picara. Now, I love this. This is like we, the audience, we the kind of the interlopers here, are armed with the information. Picara. That's the secret. We cannot, under any circumstances, let the First Order know, especially Kylo Ren, that no good Han killing guy. We can't let them know about Picara. So again, I love that we're armed with that information. So again, it's like if you're weak, I wonder, I'd be really impressed if you had any weak-willed people that shout out the name, you have like a response queued up of like, Picara.
Oh God, yeah. I honestly want to try that now.
Oh, you want to sell out the Resistance, typical.
Well, hell yeah, I do. Whenever I'm in Galaxy's Edge, that's all dude. I'm Team First Order all the way when it comes to Galaxy's Edge.
You're one of the Knights of Ren. Oh my God.
No, Dragon. I'm just saying, like, Galaxy's Edge is a lot more interesting when you're Team First Order. All right, it is. But anyways.
All right. So point being, that's the mission we're gonna run. We're gonna go to Picard, but obviously something goes wrong. We also kind of check in with a few of our extra characters this go around here. Again, this is what I'm talking about. We got everybody in here. We got Oscar Isaacs, Poe Dameron. He showed up, of course, as promised. They gave him and Domhnall Gleeson the whole band. So Poe Dameron, we have Nib Nub, and we have Amon Calamari by the name of Lieutenant Beck.
I love Lieutenant Beck because, Dragon, you know me, I love my original attraction characters.
Yep.
And Beck is basically this attraction's Rex for all intents and purposes.
In essence,
he's got a way different personality than Rex, but still, in terms of like his function within the story, he's our Rex.
And voiced by James Arnold Taylor. I'm like 90% certain. It's either James Arnold Taylor or I'm going to be shocked if it's Tom Kane. Let me put it this way. I know the way that man sounds. It's got to be James Arnold Taylor. Voiced Obi-Wan in Clone Wars, the animated show.
Yeah.
All right. So we have now the extensive queue begins. Like kind of the extensive wonder of a queue begins, I'd say at this point. We're okay, now you get on what you think is the ride.
Well, I mean, let's talk about just that outdoor section with like all the different ships and I mean, I'm still just like I can't even I can't even get my bearings here.
Well, you know what's really cool about it is the fact that later on we're going to see kind of like, obviously we're going to see, maybe base isn't the right word, we're going to see kind of the First Order is kind of like, the camp set up within the ship. And we get to see kind of the rebel side of that. Get to see the resistance side of that here. So it's kind of a nice little kind of there's kind of a great reflective quality of the two sides.
You're right. There is. Yeah.
And of course, if the whole ride's about the kind of the battle that's going on, and of course like the two the rise of the resistance, the whole the resistance going up against the First Order. Of course, you want to represent both sides very well. So I think we're doing that.
Okay, so I've heard about this whole this tram thing. I have so many questions about this this pre-show with the first of all, I love how there's two animatronics in there. You've got the Beck animatronic and you've also got Nib Nub.
Yes.
And that's great. I love how many animatronics we get, like even before the attraction gets going. I mean, of course, by this time you're in the thick of things, but like you haven't boarded the ride yet by any means. Of course, this is kind of the fake out. Like by this point, you're going to be like, I'm going to be excited to take my grandma on the ride and be like, all right, grandma, this is the ride.
Jeez.
No, we don't get seats. Disney's trying something different this time. We just have to stand. All right, but seriously, so from all the reports I've heard, the shaking in the simulator here, or whatever the hell it is just really intense and really gets you into it as you're caught up in that dogfight and you get into the tractor beam. It's like the ultimate sort of something goes wrong moment that sets the stage for the rest of the attraction. And man, first of all, like I said, I have so many questions about the logistics of this. Like, how many different pods do they have? How far does it travel? Does it travel? Is it just like a motion simulator and then the door opens on the other side? I have so many questions, Dragon.
Well, my assumption is that basically it's kind of the old elevator trick. It's kind of like the old, like you walk into the place and the other door opens, as in it just shakes you around and then the other door opens. That's what I think it is. But bear in mind, we're only going off of POV footage. You're only going off what we've seen. That's the thing. I
Uh-huh.
can't tell you like if like there's a door towards the left because I can't tell if it looks like you go in one. Basically, there's one entrance. You go in, then it opens up, and then you're obviously in the location where either the ride turns. Either ride turns or like goes down, like something like that. The point being, I don't know if it's that or just like there's two entrances, like one wall that opens up and basically the way you came in. So I can't tell you that.
And I mean, of course, logistically, my question is, are there multiple of these things set up? Like how you like, because again, that's my big question mark to the longevity of this pre-show is the guest per hour, how they're going to bring everyone through these multiple different pre-shows. I got to imagine there's at least a few of these different pods set up. I'm just, again, I'm very confused on it.
I think it's just well, my impression was that it was just one pod, but it's like really like, kind of like timed really well. As in, okay, you get on that part, and of course, when as they leave, the ride either spins around or goes back up again. That's when the next guys are kind of corralled in there, and just kind of so on and so on. Everyone gets a little bit of a head start as they go into the next section of the ride. That was my assumption based on that footage.
And I guess once you once you get into that shipyard, the idea, I guess, is it would probably play similar to the the Millennium Falcon, where you get to see the sabacc table and everything on board the Millennium Falcon before your group's called. And I imagine with that shipyard, it'd be a similar thing where you can just kind of like explore the shipyard, and then they'll be like, all right, your transport is ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll tell you, this is going to sound ridiculous here, but you know what? Imagine if it works like what we've seen here, where again, there's not really a lot of lingering time, where basically you have your group and you kind of put into the ride. Imagine if it's raining. Imagine the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Imagine it's like you walk in the base, you're coming in from, oh man, it's really coming down out there. And it's like, okay, guys, we gotta get you on the, it's like you're on boot camp essentially. It's like, okay, guys, come on.
Man. That's great.
And then you go into space, and then it's probably gonna be cool in there too. It's like, oh man, imagine how cool that would feel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like being out there in the rain for a couple minutes would be like minorly inconvenient, but it would add to the atmosphere and the tension for sure.
I mean, if it's like a direct, like, okay, as you basically have to walk outside to get from point A to point B, and if it's coming down, but you don't have to stand out there inconveniently. It's like it's just coming down. You have built in the atmosphere. It feels like an extra part of the ride. Like, God, like it's raining. Basically, it'd be Disney like turning like the inconvenience of, oh man, it's raining at Galaxy's Edge. My day is ruined. No, man, it's atmosphere. Look at it.
Right. God.
It's like when Rey had her little Force vision in Force Awakens when it was raining with all the Knights of Ren, which we may or may not see in the new one coming up. Imagine that, man. You're in the thick of it now.
All right, so the transport doors open up from the other side, and we see the deck of a Star Destroyer at about 100. Go ahead. Sorry.
A little ahead here. Again, we're caught in a trap. And this is what I'm talking about. We mirror a little bit
about the tractor beam.
All right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to live in it a little bit. All right. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
So after our, basically, again, very much we capture the feel of episode 4 here, man. We're caught in the tractor beam. We're put in the exact same position as Luke and company here. We are, we're thrust aboard the ship. I got a bad feeling about this. Like the atmosphere is caught, and again, it's what I'm talking about. Like for the next generation, this is the closest thing you're going to have to like being in Luke Skywalker's shoes, and something really cool about that when those doors open.
All right. Yeah, so the doors open, and we see like literally about 100 stormtroopers staring us down. I imagine the cast members in the scene are going to be very intense. Dragon, once the doors open, I just want to instantly sell out the location.
God. I love how this to me is the most cast members I've ever seen on any ride.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I love how they're all so committed. Basically, they've all kind of like they probably moved through like the Domhnall Gleeson acting boot camp, and they're all acting like Domhnall Gleeson. They're all like shouting and having like the Imperial thing going on. And again, this is what I'm saying. I know I kind of already said it here, but again, it's one of like when those doors open, you see all those stormtroopers and basically kind of little hangar bay areas.
It's not little, man. This room is huge. You've got like full sized TIE fighters on either side of you.
When you, yeah, sure. That's the thing. When you look in there and you see the scale, and it's like, again, this is the closest thing you're ever going to feel to like what people like felt when they first saw, like, Luke and company kind of address the stormtroopers walking on the Death Star, man. It's like the closest thing you're going to have to that ever. But in real life, I envy what these guys are feeling like walking there, like, oh god, look at all those stormtroopers staring you down. Oh god, it's like, to me, it's the coolest part of the ride right there. It's like the doors open and you see you're on a Star Destroyer. Oh god.
I really hope that they have like random stormtrooper audio, like, that the stormtroopers standing there kind of like have little side conversations going on with themselves.
I can only assume those stormtroopers are like mock-ups or like maybe some animatronics. I don't know if their heads move at all, but like just the ones that are staring you down. Like, it would be fantastic if they were. Be ridiculous, but it'd be fantastic if they were all cast members too. And just
no, they're animatronics.
They have to be. That's what I'm saying. But imagine how like dedicated they'd be. Like, yes, all of them, all the cast members.
That's a lot of labor, Dragon. That's a lot of paychecks.
That's what I'm saying. We got the money. We can afford it.
Oh god.
All right, of course. I mean, even down to the reflective floors, man. This is what I'm talking about. This is as immersive as it gets. Like, you walk.
This is what I'm saying, because basically the line between the ride and the queue has ceased to exist, because there is no proper queue now. You are not in any sort of a line. It's as immersive in this area as it's going to be for the rest of the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, it's still. I don't think technically still doesn't feel like we're on the ride, though. It still feels like we're in the queue.
Really? To you it does? Because to me, this is where the line really starts to blur.
Well, I mean, you're right. The line blurs. I'm saying I think it feels like technically we're still in the queue, but even though, yeah, I mean, you're in the thick of the ride. Surely, yes, it does. It feels like I'm saying they could go home at any point during this because they've done so well at this point. Like that, the queue with Lieutenant Beck already felt like the ride. Now we're on.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
which feels like the ride. That's what I'm saying. But remarkable. This is what I'm talking about. The wonder quality. Well, it steals again. I think it's technically still all the queue until you board the ride. It's all the queue.
No, I mean, you're not wrong. It is technically still all the queue. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, though. It feels like the line is blurring, though. That's awesome.
Uh-huh. All right, so we kind of get lined up to be interrogated.
I love going down the hallways. I love the work, the craftsmanship, and again, it's everything. It's in the 4-color scheme: the red, the black, the white. It's the classic color scheme from the Death Star and everything, and the starships in general.
Right.
The lights, oh man, it's the little details.
Oh, the lighting in this is insane.
That's what I'm saying. Insane. Like when you see like the hallway shots, where basically you go down and have the guardrails and everything put up, it just looks like, oh god, if those guardrails were gone, you'd be on a ship right now. That's what I'm saying. It's awesome.
Right. So then we get. I love the way that they. This is so subtle the way they do this, but Dragon, we essentially get grouped. We get grouped by a cast member into rows, but it's so subtle that you barely even realize it's happening, because every ride there's always like, okay, how many in your party? All right, 2 in row 1, 2 in row 2. You know what I mean? But here it's just like, okay, no, like they are putting you in position to get interrogated, and you are following their lead because they have an attitude where you need to do what they're telling you to do,
Oh yeah.
So so he's like, how many in your unit? 4. All right, 2 on blue, 2 on red. Stay on your marks, prisoners. And it's just like, it's so immersive that you barely even realize that that's the party counter who's in literally every single other attraction at the end of the queue.
Yeah.
I love the way they do that. Okay, and so then we go into one last queue pre-show room, and this is crazy that we're still not even on the ride yet.
Oh yeah.
And we have Domhnall Gleeson up there, and holy shit, man, Domhnall Gleeson, his shadow, dude.
Yeah.
I can't even like wrap my head around how they did it, because Domhnall Gleeson, it's obviously a screen. But then the shadow is obviously some sort of lighting trick.
Either a screen or like they project his face onto to an animatronic. Well, I know later on they use animatronics, but in this case,
I don't think this is an animatronic.
That's a thing. This is, yeah, It's interesting. It's really
because later on we do see a Domhnall Gleeson animatronic.
yeah. So then, the point is, we have a stormtrooper. Then we have Domhnall Gleeson, who then kind of like hypes up our big guy here, hypes up Kylo Ren. Kylo. Anyway, so Kylo Ren makes his appearance, and he's interrogating us. He wants the location, which, of course, as we've established, my friend here, he's very weak-willed. He's going to be like, Picora! It's Picora! Kylo, don't kill me!
Dragon, I am absolutely going to do that, man. There's no way I'm not.
God. Anyway. Point being, so
like you said, if anything else, just to see if the cast members have something like, because that's the thing about Galaxy's Edge that's very experimental, is that it is kind of like a little bit choose your own adventure in the way that you can interact with the cast members in terms of the Resistance and the First Order. But anyways, go ahead.
Right, so the point being, Kylo says he'll get to us soon enough, and then he blacks out the room using the Force and everything, which is a really cool effect. I love it.
Uh-huh.
So then, like Kylo's he's getting warmed up to really get the answers out of us later on. So we're left alone in the room to kind of stew in our juices here. But thankfully, a familiar face kind of breaks us out of the interrogation room. It is Finn. It's Finn. Fun with Finn. What do you know? So Finn, kind of opens the door for us. I believe the story is he's hacked into a few R5 units. Like basically,
yes.
Basically, the evil version of R2.
I actually think he's probably hacked into the whole fleet of R5 units. At least that's what I'm telling myself. So the number of ride vehicles makes sense.
Sure. Anyway, so of course we've established, as we wonderfully established, Finn, he has First Order experience, therefore he's absolutely the manual on the inside on any of these First Order ships. So, Finn is kind of orchestrating the rescue, in essence. And then we begin, I believe, now the ride actually begins.
We start
the trackless ride segment.
And let's describe the ride vehicles, first of all. They're pretty standard trackless ride vehicles, except they've got those R4 units on them.
I think is it R4 or R5? Because I thought I heard R5.
I think it's R4.
All right, what did we say?
But, so yeah, we got the let's just call them droids just in case I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's R4 though.
I don't know. Okay, droids. Hey.
Okay,
droids.
Dragon. You want me to look it up?
Don't look it up. Honestly, I swear to you, what I think it could be is I think it might depend on. They have two rides. You're looking it up, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
I'd see you had no restraint. Anyway, no, my point is, I heard in the ride POV I saw they call it R5. Now, I want to say maybe both are individually an R4 and an R5. That's what I was getting at.
Okay, you're right. There's an R4 and then there's a Y5.
Y5, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Anywho.
All right, just to clear it up, because Dragon, I don't like it when I know I'm right, but you're doubting it. Anyways. Because I know for a fact that I heard Beck say like R5 checking in,
Yeah, so. You said R5.
R4, I meant R4, son of a bitch.
See, this is why doubt exists anyway. So, okay, point being, we'll be in the trackless ride vehicle, and basically they're driven by our units here, by our kind of our R4 and our Y5. So let's see. So Beck is leading the way. Beck's on comms. Again, James Arnold Taylor doing some stuff here. He's basically instructing us on which way to go. I don't know if he's piloting. So basically, he's kind of feeding the droids, the directions in which to go. We run to a probe droid.
Well, first of all, I love how the first thing we do is we basically say, like, oh, tell him it's a prisoner transport. And then, first of all, I love how the moment the ride opens, like I said, there is like basically no distinction between the floor that you've been on in this whole Star Destroyer and the floor that the ride is on. It just feels like such a natural, like, okay, now we're going on this vehicle and we're going deeper into the Star Destroyer that we've already been on.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so yeah, a probe droid comes down, and then the stormtrooper spots you. Dragon, big thing with this ride that they've been hyping up, and I absolutely think the hype pays off here, is the laser effects.
I love this so much. I love the idea you get to see, like, of course, stormtroopers, what are they famous for?
being bad shots.
And of course, with that, you would have to see them interact with the environment. And I love seeing that. You get to see all the misfires and all of it like impacting the environment around you. It's really cool.
Okay, so Beckett, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to call him Beckett. Beck at this point is just like, you have to find an alternate route.
It's not Woody Harrelson.
I know. I just like how Beck is basically kind of like a less memey version of Admiral Akbar.
Yep.
I know, he's like an Admiral Akbar that we can take more seriously.
Oh, remember, Akbar died for Laura Dern's sins.
Oh, I know. Akbar should have been the one that died, but...
Also, she kind of got him killed, too, because they never sorted out what the plan was. So.
I know.
Anyway.
I like The Last Jedi regardless, mostly for the Rey, Luke, and Kylo stuff.
Hey, me too. Take out a purple-haired Laura Dern, I think we could all dance to that.
And the Casino Planet. And Benicio del Toro.
Okay.
All of Benicio del Toro.
The point is Casino Planet, which includes Benicio del Toro. I think we're belaboring the point here. Anyway, getting back to Beck. The point is Beck's cool.
Yes. All right. Anyway, so then we need to find an alternate route, Dragon. And what in God's name is that alternate route?
The AT-ATs.
AT-ATs.
Oh god, so this is
like pretty much the first show scene that we knew about. Like, this is the first thing that was leaked. Like, hey, there's going to be a room in here with 2 full-sized AT-ATs.
I was kind of gobsmacked.
I've known about this for years, like literal years. I've known that this room exists, but still, watching the video, the moment those doors open and you see those goddamn things. It's just, gobsmacked is the word. It's Dragon. People are actually complaining that these things don't move, that they just fire at you, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Okay, let me be clear.
What do you want?
So for starters,
they're clearly not powered on. It's clearly like some sort of like garage for the AT-ATs, and.
Honestly, like, how far could they really go? I mean, again, they're basically moving cargo. One, like, to even expect an AT-AT like on the Star Destroyers, like, I mean, we were doing stuff with the scale of them, but you wouldn't even expect that. So that's the big surprise
what I'm saying,
factor.
Man. Yeah.
And second of all, it's like, obviously, even if they put them on, how much? I mean, how far are they going to really get in the room? It's like maybe 2 steps. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, don't get me wrong. But the point being, though, is yes, they're just powered on as you're basically you go up when you should be still going down. So you go up, and of course you're up at eye
that is
level.
Like I love how that moment is a something. Again, this ride is filled with something goes wrong moments because of course we've got the initial caught in the tractor beam. That's the big something goes wrong. And then once we're on the ride, we get intercepted by the stormtroopers. That's the second something goes wrong. And then this is the third and probably the biggest in terms of the actual ride. This is the big something goes wrong of the ride, which is we go, the elevator should take us down, but we're going up. And Dragon, this is some classic Star Wars dialogue right here. Like, no, not up. Up is bad. Up is real bad.
And I love I just love like the
this is like the mind-blowing, like every Star Wars fan on the planet is just going to shit bricks at this moment.
I love just when you hear the lasers charging up in the and you know the sound. It's like, oh god, okay, get out of it. Let's move.
And then of course there's like a huge just shred of wall just gets destroyed right behind you. Oh god, I mean it's pretty much the midpoint of the ride, but this is like it is going to be the centerpiece of the attraction. I think this moment is going to be the iconic moment of the attraction.
It is really hard to beat. Also, I believe we see an animatronic of Finn once we're at ground level.
We might.
Well, that's the thing. We see something. I could have sworn it was Finn.
That's the thing. I can only assume it's an animatronic. A lot of times, it's hard to make out what's a screen and what's not.
I mean, I'm assuming it's an animatronic. You might as well be right. It might be a screen because the point is it's convincing. I think that's the bigger takeaway here.
Sure.
So, but what we do know is an animatronic as we kind of go to the bridge area.
Yes. We see Kylo and Hux, both animatronics, and I really like Kylo's lines, man. I think Kylo works really well just in the context of this attraction as a villain.
I love that like he knows the ship. There's no escape. He spots you like so casually. It's like he's gonna be going after you. I love that.
Oh, how admirable, but ultimately pointless.
Yep. There's nowhere you can go.
And so, yeah, so Kylo spots us. We go backwards into another elevator. We see a screen of him walking towards us very slowly, almost Frankenstein-like. We're in the elevator. Dragon, this is another total geek out moment for me. What happens?
Well, first of all, I love that it's just such a well-built chase because those doors close as you see him like switch the lightsaber on. You know he's coming for you, and then it's when the lightsaber and you knew this was coming. It's so awesome. It's like, are they going to go this far? Are they going to do it? And they did.
They totally did it.
It's basically like Vader at the end of Rogue One, man. It's like the lightsaber is like you stabbing through the ceiling, like oh god, he's coming for us.
Okay, Dragon, I've actually heard people complain like, oh, the lightsaber doesn't go fast enough. There's not enough tension. I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. Just go in the corner. No one wants to talk to you.
I only have one small, not about the lightsaber thing. I don't care about the point. The lightsaber looks awesome. I have no gripes about that. But here's the one thing. It's not a problem. It's just I don't fully get it. It's that. So we have this awesome moment after this. Of course, we're still being chased by Kylo Ren. We think we're cornered. We're being told by Finn, you got to get out of there. Get out of there, man. Because obviously we're in the thick of a battle right now. And of course, there's a lot of fireworks going on the outside because we're on the Star Destroyer that is being hit. And of course, what happens when a Star Destroyer is hit and you're in it? It blows up and you're going to be in the vacuum space. And as we've learned, unless you're Leia, it's not going to go well for you.
Dragon, at this point, it's a we don't care.
Well, no, that's not the problem. My issue is this. So the issue is, okay, so Kylo, we have this awesome one. So Kylo, we blast the sides. And you were blasting the shipment over. Think, oh god, Kylo's gonna get us. And of course, Kylo, he's almost sucked out of the airlock and everything. And I don't know what happens after that because basically a piece of metal comes down. No, I don't know in front of him because we have to obscure Kylo for the next ride, assuredly. I don't know if that's Kylo grabbing something to like hold himself in there. I don't know. Basically, the way the thing comes down is always a little funny to me. I don't know what the deal is there.
Regardless, though, I love the motion of when those walls come down and Kylo's arms just start flailing, Dragon.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I can only assume like he's using the Force to bring that thing down. Again, I want to make clear, absolute nitpick. Doesn't matter. It's cool, regardless. I'm just saying like, the way it comes down makes me, I don't know. It's as good as they can do it.
I'm just saying the way that those arms flail is just like, it's just uncanny the way that anyone's arms would flail in that situation.
Yeah,
it almost kind of defies gravity the way that it's pulled off.
But I love like the last minuteness of the save. Like, oh god, we're boned, we're dead, we're charbroiled, man. We're not going to live to see the Millennium Falcon ride. Oh god, we're doomed. And of course, like
you're not missing a ton.
But my point is, you just turned on that so fast with this ride.
Yes, I did. Okay,
my point is, I just love the interactivity of like, okay, the wall's blowing up behind him. I just love that. It's great. And you got to see it was built up in the ride though, because you saw like chunks of the ride being taken out from the battle. It's just great. It all makes
also
sense.
Dragon. Before we get to that section, one of my favorite little sections is the moment. This is, I believe, the only moment in the entirety of Galaxy's Edge where the original Star Wars theme song plays.
Yes.
And we get that awesome like overlook of the battle ensuing out in space. We're going under the cannons. And Dragon, I love the scale of those cannons. I love that we can physically go under them.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
And if I'm right, because I remember this from the documentary like yesterday, and I want to say the moment in the movie is it's right before Luke blows up the Death Star. We have I call it the in trouble music in Star Wars. It's like it basically was like, well, we're rushing to finish the edit on Star Wars and Empire Dreams. So it's all like a it's like
right.
It's the uneasy version of the Star Wars theme. Like,
I don't know. There's just something about the scale of like the big battle going on outside as you're in the middle of this chaos being chased by Kylo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool stuff. All right, so yeah, the final Kylo encounter, you escape him, and then you get to the escape pods, and we get a ride system within a ride system, Dragon. We get Inceptioned.
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, we have the drop track, and I love the way that the drop track is built up because, we get into the escape pod, we have that screen, we see the different we see the escape pods out in the distance dropping, and then bam, we drop.
Yep, and we drop and we're basically making a crash landing in style.
And Dragon, I'm sure that we drop into an actual like Star Tours style motion simulator pod of some kind.
I would like to think so, but it's so much fun.
And that blows me away. Because again, it's just like when I heard initially that there were like essentially 3 different ride systems on this thing, the motion simulator, the trackless ride, and the pre-show thing with Beck, I really didn't know how they were going to pull it off.
Sounds like crazy talk.
The pre-show thing with Beck, I'm still kind of unsure. I'm going to have to see like, opening day reports of like how the crowd control fares. That's still kind of like a question mark for me. But just how seamlessly the ride essentially goes from one ride system and literally drops you into another ride system is just insane to me. I love it.
Yep, it's a Christopher Nolan approved ride for sure.
All right, so we get a crash landing back on Batu. There's a little bit of fear that Beck didn't survive, but alas, unlike his fallen Mal Calamari brethren, he's alive and he's in a crashed pod. And I love how you see one final AA of him.
Yep, he ain't sushi, folks. He's alive.
I gotta tell you, Dragon, AAs at the end of rides in outside environments are always super satisfying. You've got Beckett, you've got but you've got Wheezy at the end of Slinky Dog Dash.
Right.
It's always really cool to see an animatronic in an outdoor setting at the end of a ride.
Right.
And then you're in this giant crash Star Destroyer wreckage.
Yeah.
And Dragon, I've heard that the walkway, I couldn't find any good video of it, but I heard that the walkway out of the attraction is like super well themed in its own right, just because of the scale of all this Star Destroyer wreckage, and you really get to walk through it.
And of course, because again, a lot of this is set in between the movies, for sure. It's set in between, Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker.
Uh-huh.
And what's kind of neat about it, of course, Rise of Skywalker, we know at least from the trailers. I'm talking like the first one, folks, and no spoilers or anything. It's just like, we're going to have like, the crash, basically like the remnants of giant ships from Star Wars, in case the Death Star, pieces of Death Star. So again, pieces of Star Destroyer, quite neat.
Of course, it calls to mind Jakku as well.
I mean, yeah, that too. I'm just trying to make it all like, kind of synergistic here, but sure, by all means, Jakku as well.
All right, so that I think that's it, Dragon. I cannot wait to ride this thing. Also, Dragon, I am in all likelihood going to be in Florida for opening day of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yep, it's all coming out of the Millhouse for your old Tiki.
Yep, so I will. I mean, that'll definitely be an intense day crowd-wise for sure. But, I mean, man, Rise of the Resistance, Mickey's Runaway Railway, Toy Story Land, dinner at the Brown Derby, of course, the main thing I got to do in Hollywood Studios every time I go there. So yeah, Dragon, I'm stoked. I can't wait to ride this. I can't wait to ride Runaway Railway. Any final thoughts on this on your end?
No, it's just simply impressive, folks. It's next level Imagineering at its finest. It really is. This is truly an achievement. I'd like to say it's the beginning of new technical marvels that we're just on the precipice of. But it's a question like, how does it get any better than this? And we've asked that before, and Disney's usually delivered. So hey, fingers crossed. Like, can it get any better than this? Are we gonna get more rides? Is maybe like a Mandalorian thing on the horizon? Who knows?
Well, of course, the next big project, the next big e-ticket on the horizon after this, Dragon. We've got the Spider-Man Shooter Dark Ride, which I'm sure will be good, but it's not trying to be as ambitious as this. That'll probably like midway Toy Story Mania will probably be the main comparison point for the Spider-Man ride.
Well, remember, the big takeaway with that is going to be this is going to be their version of the Spider-Man ride. Like they're going to have their version of it versus the Universal version. That's going to be the main comparison. I'm sure.
No, I mean, I know, but I'm just saying, like, the next big kind of like, potential game changer e-ticket that Disney's doing. As far as I know, I don't know as much about their plans for Florida. I know there's a lot of Epcot stuff going on. I haven't really followed how high scale like the Mary Poppins ride or anything is going to be. I doubt the Mary Poppins ride is going to be anything more than like a C-ticket dark ride or something. But the Avengers e-ticket, Dragon, the Avengers coaster, that's going to be the big that and Guardians of the Galaxy at Epcot. Those two are going to be the big kind of like, like, can we do something that's as big as Rise of the Resistance? I think Rise of the Resistance, the Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy could be kind of like a big, if all three of them really turn out special, I think it could be a nice like little trilogy of like, okay, and this is Disney breaking new ground at the start of the 2020s. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited it could potentially be a big new era for Imagineering.
Age of Miracles, folks. Age of Miracles in space.
In space. All right, folks. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. I'm honestly not really surprised that we don't have a ton of activity in the comments because I feel like a lot of people are holding off on watching the video. But, if you're watching this in the archives, I hope you enjoyed it. We really wanted to get a run on it because this is just a project that I've been following for years, and I'm just so stoked to have it, come to light and just turn out so well. And honestly, I'm really frustrated that there's people out there that are nitpicking it, but whatever. Those people can have their fun, but I think everyone who experiences this and just watches the videos can see that unless it's just a crowd control nightmare and a tactical nightmare and everything goes wrong on that level, just from the experience as the experience is meant to be seen, it looks absolutely incredible. And if they can keep that up, if there's no huge technical setbacks, then we're looking at a real next generation e-ticket on our hands, folks. All right, so don't forget, we'll be doing a Rise of Skywalker spoiler cast as soon as that comes out, probably within a day or two of that coming out. And yeah, I think that's about it. Have a good night, everyone. Bright suns. May the Force be with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.